What's up, y'all? I'm back out here on the range on another sunny day. The temperature is actually only supposed to be in the low 80s out here, so as you can see, I didn't even set up my shade. I should be all right. Hopefully I don't regret that once this sun comes out and starts heating things up. I've got a few interesting tests on the agenda for today, and we're gonna start it out with a revisit to some reworked Norma 9mm. So of course the jelly contraption is set up ready to roll with a couple of chronos and 2 fresh blocks of gel. First test of the day again, so we get a real nice clear picture on this one. Using my heavy clothing barrier, of course, with the layer of denim, fleece, and 2 layers of cotton t-shirt. And what we got for this one is another test of the Norma MHP, their Monolithic Hollow Point 9mm. Now this is actually 85 grain. Y'all know I've tested the 108s a couple of different times in the past. Not very impressive in my opinion. The things just didn't have the velocity, not even near what the velocity they were claiming. So the energy wasn't there. It was very, very inconsistent as far as expansion and as far as penetration, just really inconsistent all the way around. But who knows what this lighter weight will do. It's an 85 grainer this time instead of 108. This is the same exact 85 projectile that they load the 380 MHP in. Now as you can see, the FPS on this is saying 1310. The 380 is saying 1280, and then the 108 9mm is saying 1312. So they're actually claiming 10 FPS less than the 108 with this lighter projectile. However, as y'all know, and I've shown in the past on those blue boxes of this MHP, the 108 and the 380, that stuff is tested from a 6-inch test barrel. That's where they're getting those velocities. So every time I've tested them, we never hit that kind of velocity. The last time, if I remember correctly, I didn't use these exact tools, but I used pretty much the same barrel lengths. For the long one, it was under 1200, and for the shorty one, it was under 1100, and they were both supposed to be, or they're claiming 1312 from a 6-inch. And the reason I'm explaining all that is because these right here don't list any kind of test barrel on the box anywhere else that I can find it. No test barrel listed at all. So be really curious to see what these do. Maybe they ran these out of a more realistic test barrel, but I'm doubting it. They probably still tested these from 6-inch. As you can see here, it's got brass case. It's no longer got that coated nickel plating. Projectile, again, same exact one in the 380. Very small, inconsistent opening on this thing. So a lot of people theorize that's what causes the really inconsistent expansions, because you can look at these things and every other one of them will have a different size of opening right there, maybe because of the plating or whatever the case. These are solid copper, so maybe it's just a plating inconsistency. But anyway, as far as our couple of test barrels here, for the shorty, as usual, we've got the Canik Mete MC9 with the 3.1-inch barrel, and then for the full size, we've got my G17 with the 4.5-inch. So maybe this lighter weight stuff will be more consistent. In either case, I mean, even if it's close to that velocity, with that light weight, you're just talking about low energy for a 9. So I'm not sure what kind of benefits we might see by using this stuff right here. Well, let's get it all set up and see what they do. All right, let's see what this stuff's running through actual realistic barrel lengths here. I'm gonna do a 5-round average from each one of them, starting with this 3.1-inch Canik first. Now, those of y'all not familiar with this lab radar, like I always explain, you're gonna get multiple velocity readings, the large numbers at the muzzle, and then you've got 5 across the bottom. The first one is set for right here at 3 yards, which is roughly where the gel is here at 10 feet. And then I've got them set for 10, 15, 25, and 50 yards. So now remember, the box on this is saying 1310 and no test barrel, I'm assuming 6-inch like the others. So we're not gonna see that from either one of these. But hopefully we get somewhere in the vicinity. Not very loud, that's a good thing. 1309. That's very surprising. 1303. 1290. 1286. And 1320, very surprising. We were right there at what the box says, even out of this shorty. Let's see what the average was. All right, so that's actually not bad at all right there from the short barrel. We had a 5-round average of 1301. We actually had a 1320 there and another one really close to the 1310 that they're claiming. Extreme spread was 34 and a standard deviation of 13.8. So not too bad at all as far as consistency, and the velocity right where I would expect it to be if they're claiming 1310 on the box. So got to give them credit. This stuff's definitely doing better than the 108 so far. Let me get it reset and see what the G17 does. All right, let's see what the G17 gives us. I expect every bit of 1310 on this one, probably every round, maybe other than the first one if it's cold. 1349, 1354, 1407, 1351. And 1381, I can tell you right now, this stuff is very, very light recoiling, incredibly light recoiling. I don't know if y'all noticed, the rounds were even just trickling, ejecting out of here. But as long as it cycles, I guess it's whatever. Let's see what the average was. All right, it definitely hit that 1310 with this one. We had a 5-round average of 1,368 feet per second. We did have a larger extreme spread of 58 and a standard deviation of 25. And again, those things were just plopping right out. I mean, barely with any energy. All my empty casings are sitting right here at my feet. So take that for what it's worth. 1368, I think there's no doubt these things should expand. If they don't, they got some serious issues. My big thing is, what are these going to do as far as penetration being so light? But anyway, 1368 right here. And if you remember on the MC9, it was 1301. So you're only talking about 67 feet per second difference right here. So not much at all. I think we're going to see very, very similar performance from both of these. Again, what is that performance going to be? Hopefully it's going to be something good, but let me get all this stuff set up and y'all know what time it is. All right, y'all, it's does making it light, make it act right jelly time. I'm going to put one through each barrel into the gel, starting with this Canik first. Again, as long as this stuff don't act crazy and start tumbling or something, I think we're going to get some good expansion. My big question is, what kind of penetration are we going to suffer because of that? Let's see what happens. All right, I think I stayed in there. Let's go check it out. All right, pretty much what I expected down there. It stayed straight, didn't curve or anything. So we got some really nice expansion. Penetration, about what I figured. If it hit 12, it just barely did, but we'll find out here in a second. Let's see what this G17 does. All right, that should have been another good one. Let's go down there and check them out. All right, let's check out what we got down here, y'all. Definitely have to give these credit. They did exactly what they claimed to do. As you can see, both of them's got very, very nice expansion, really nice disruption. The penetration, though, is what's a little iffy to me because, as you can see, it's not a whole lot. But looking at them one by one on the top, that's the one from the MC9. As you can see, comes in here, immediate expansion, very, very nice spiraling disruption through the block here. Looks like, I'm gonna say it might have hit 12. If it did, just barely. It's probably more around 11, but again, you do have some really, really nice expansion. And then down below that, that's the G17. It looks nearly identical. You can't tell any difference between these. I don't know if I actually said that before I tested these, but I was thinking that in my head that they were gonna look nearly identical, and they do. You couldn't tell which is from which if I didn't tell you. And one thing I'll mention again, the recoil is incredibly light on this stuff. I don't know if y'all were able to see because of the different angle on the jelly right there, but that G17, again, that cartridge just barely plopped out of the top. So maybe this stuff is actually designed and meant for shorter barrels like that, because I don't know that I'd be real comfortable with that light of an ejection like that. You know, if it gets much lighter, I'd be worried about having some kind of stovepipe or some kind of jamming up. But anyway, the one from the G17, again, nearly identical. Very, very nice disruption of spiraling action all the way through its track here. And the penetration is exactly the same. If y'all were at the right angle, you would see, I mean, there can't be a 64th of an inch difference right there. They are exactly the same, and the expansion looks nearly identical. Both of them, again, they're exactly the same, and they're exactly 11 3/4. So I thought they were a little bit short of that 12. Now, the 12 is not a magic number just because it's an FBI number. For me, I want way out here to the end of the block, 15, 16 inches. So again, this is my main concern with not just this light round, but any light for caliber rounds, is the lack of penetration that you get a lot of times. And here's your close-up look. As you can see, you can't tell the difference between these things. Again, very, very nice disruption there into the block, and you can see again the expansion looks nearly identical. And then from above, this is a little tricky because they're just about stacked right on top of each other, but as they curve there towards the end, you can see, and you can see what I mean. The penetration is absolutely identical from both of these. All right, let's check out these projectiles, y'all. Once again, if I didn't tell you which was which, you wouldn't be able to tell. They look absolutely identical. I mean, exactly the same. This one right here is from the MC9, this one's from the G17. But again, if I didn't tell you that, you would not be able to tell. They are exactly the same, and I have to say they performed absolutely fantastic. As far as these projectiles, the way they're supposed to expand, they did exactly that. Very, very nice, even expansion. So really, really happy to see the performance from the projectiles themselves. Now again, that really, really light ejection pattern definitely concerns me, but again, as far as projectile performance, these right here definitely have it. But let's get us a couple measurements as usual and see what we got. So as far as the weight, they're 85. This one from the MC9 is exactly 85.0 grains. So no surprise, nothing lost there. This one from the G17 is 84.8. So again, absolutely nothing lost from either one of them. And then as far as the sizes, I expect them to be about the same here. The MC9, you got 6.98 and 6.97. So very, very nice, even, consistent expansion right there. And then this one from the G17, you got 7.25 and 7.23. So a little bit larger final size there, but both of them absolutely fantastic expansion. And there you go, y'all, the lightened down version of the Norma MHP 9mm. Not really a huge difference in overall performance with these and the 108s. Now, the projectile expansion, much nicer, much more consistent. The 9mm did expand like this some, the 108 I should say, the 108 expanded like this some. A lot of times though, or about half the time, it tumbled or yawed off, so it didn't get full expansion. These lighter projectiles with that velocity definitely got the nice expansion. However, again, as is always my concern with these lighter projectiles, you did not get the penetration that I personally feel comfortable with. I know a lot of people still don't seem to understand that no ballistic gel of any kind is an actual one-to-one representation. So, you know, the whole, oh, I've never seen somebody 20 inches thick. That's not what you're going for here. That's not the purpose of ballistic gel. So you just never know what kind of barrier you might have to go through. And then again, the other very serious concern that I personally have with this is that really, really light ejection pattern from the G17. The MC9, I didn't seem to notice it quite as much. So like I mentioned, maybe they did use a shorter test barrel from these and are meaning for these to be run out of a shorter barrel. But either way, that's what you get here from the Norma 85 grain MHP. Now, would I personally use these? More than likely not, because I personally got far better options. But if that lighter ejection doesn't concern you, or maybe if you're using a shorter barrel, these would more than likely get the job done as long as you do yours. All right, y'all, I'm gonna call it right there for a pretty interesting first test of the day. Even though this lighter weight standard pressure 9mm just really isn't personally my thing, I do have to give them credit for performing the way that they claimed they were going to. Now, that being said, we still saw a little bit of inconsistency as far as the velocity. Oddly enough, when we went to the G17, and that's where I saw more of the weak ejection too, is from the longer barrel on the G17. So I have absolutely no proof of this, but it kind of makes me think that maybe they did design these and test these out of shorter barrels. These definitely have a really light report and recoil to be this light caliber stuff. That's why I even mentioned it while I was doing the velocity testing. Normally I expect really, really loud report from this light caliber stuff, but this was very, very mild. So that's a good thing as far as the report and the recoil, but again, that really, really weak ejection definitely concerns me. But let me know down in the comments what y'all think about this stuff. Do any of y'all run the 108 or this 85? Have you picked some of this up and started running it? If you have run some of this 85 just to test it out or whatever, are you experiencing this really, really light ejection like I'm seeing out here? Let me know down in the comments what your thoughts are. If you did enjoy the video, make sure you take a second and reach down and hit that thumbs up button, subscribe to the channel, and make sure you've got those notifications turned on so you get notified when I upload stuff. Take a second and check out those affiliate links in the video description. Lots of good stuff down there, including these Axle GS Extreme Ear Pros. These things are an absolute lifesaver, especially during the summertime out here. If I was still using the standard earmuff type, there's absolutely no way I could be out here this many hours under this hot sun like this. So these things are an absolute lifesaver. If you're looking for some really good ear pro, check them out down below. Big thanks again to all my Range Gang members and every single one of y'all for supporting the channel. I've got a couple more really interesting tests planned for out here today, so stay on the lookout for those. And in the meantime, stay safe, stay prepared, and I'll see you soon.